Hey everyone, it's Tracy here, back with another Know How Friday video for you today. So I'm going to be using the alleyway stamps, stamp sets to create a watercolor type card. So I'm going to start with this Tropic Topic stamp set, and I'm going to use that flamingo up there. And I cut a piece of the Tim Holtz watercolor paper down to size. I think it's 2 inches it's 3 inches by 5.5 inches. So I'm just going to stick my stamp to my block, and then I have this embossing like powder tool thing, and this is the first time I've used it, and I love it. It worked so well, and I did not get any embossing powder where I didn't want it, so I would definitely suggest that, which I will have linked for you below. So I'm going to ink up my stamp with Versamark ink, and then I'm going to stamp that like in the middle of my watercolor cardstock piece. Now if I was redoing this card over, I would not be using the white embossing powder that I did. I think I would use black. I like the white, but it just kind of doesn't show up as much as I was hoping. So I would use a darker color next time, but I still like the way that this card turned out. So I used the Hero Arts white embossing powder, and I just poured a little bit on there and then tapped that excess off, and now I'm going to go back and stamp the little splashes down below. I didn't heat emboss the first one yet. I'm going to heat emboss it all at the same time, but I just like to put the embossing powder on each piece so that I can see where it went the first time, and then I don't like stamp in the wrong spot or anything like that. So now I have the Rock Solid stamp set. This is the freebie for this month of September 2014. So if you purchase $40 from the Alleyway Stamp Store, you get this stamp set for free. And I love it. It's got so many cute sentiments on it. So this one just says Happy Birthday. And I love the font that this is in. This is why I'm using this. And I have a feeling I will be using this Happy Birthday sentiment in many more cards. So I'm also stamping that with Versamark and then applying my Hero Arts white embossing powder to that. And now I'm going to go ahead and heat emboss that whole thing. You can kind of see it shining there on camera. So now comes the fun watercolor part. Now I'm going to be using Tim Holtz Distress markers. You could also use Distress inks. It doesn't really make any difference, but I just didn't need very much ink, so I thought I would go with the marker. This is the Worn Lipstick. And I'm going to be using my water brush pen and just kind of coloring in the areas that I want pink, which will be my flamingo. Now you could also use a regular paintbrush and just water for this if you don't have a water brush, but I really like these water brushes because you don't get too much water, and it's a lot easier than having to mess with a cup and water and paintbrush and everything like that. So I'm just going in and coloring the whole thing, and it's pretty light at first. And the nice thing about the distress markers is you can go in and build your color. You'll be able to see I'll add a little bit more, and then it'll get darker in some areas. So it's kind of like using your Copic markers to create shading on your images, which is really cool. But this has the watercolor look, which is really popular right now. Alright, so there I'm going to go in and make those areas a little bit darker where there would be the shading naturally on the flamingo. Alright, for the beak and the legs, I'm going to be using the Spiced Marmalade Distress marker. I'm just going to fill in the little areas there. And like I said before, you can't really tell with the white embossing powder. You'll be able to tell a little bit more because I'll add color to the background, but in the future I would do this with a darker color embossing powder like black or a gray maybe. Alright, now for the water part, I'm going to be using the Chip Sapphire and the Faded Jeans Distress markers. I like to kind of blend these colors together just to create more of like a watery look. I guess since it's not, water's usually not just one color. So I'm going to start with the faded jeans and kind of just go along, and I'm only doing the bottom part of the card just because this is going to be, the top part's going to be like the sky, and then the bottom part, the flamingo, is going to be in the water with the little splashes that we stamped earlier. So I'll just go all around and color the whole bottom part in. If you need more water on your brush, you kind of just squeeze the plastic part at the back, and then it'll let more water flow down into the brush part. And then I was mixing the colors together a little bit, so you can add a little bit of the faded jeans to your brush and then a little bit of the chipped sapphire to your brush, and it kind of creates your own color. You can like create your own custom colors by mixing the distress markers. One other thing, if you add more water to this, especially because this is a smaller piece of watercolor cardstock, it is going to warp a little bit. And when you dry it, make sure you dry it from the top and the bottom just to kind of make it warp less. And then you'll want to use a lot of adhesive when you adhere it down, just to try to prevent it from warping the entire card. Alright, for my sky, I'm going to use the Broken China Distress Marker. This is a really light blue, so it's not going to look like the water. It won't look like it's all one, since it is such a lighter color. And if you want your colors even lighter, just add more water, and then it'll kind of create the lighter shades that you want. Alright, so I fast forwarded a little bit just because it was the same thing of me coloring over, but I just finished up coloring my background in so that we can move on to the next part of my card. So I'm going to take this piece of paper from Glitz. This is the Uncharted Waters 6x6 paper pad. It's like a yellow, and then it's got circles on it. And I'm going to take the Lawn Fawn Stitch Scallop border, the tiny one, and I'm just going to place that on one side of my pattern paper and then adhere that into place with a piece of washi tape so I can run it through my Cuttlebug and it does not move on me. And then with the Cuttlebug, some people do it different, but I always do my die side facing up. It's A plate, C plate, your die, paper, and then B plate. As you can see, my B plate is pretty well loved. Alright, and then you can remove your die and your washi tape. Alright, so now I'm going to adhere my watercolor piece down, and like I said earlier, I'm going to apply quite a bit of adhesive just so that it does not warp as much. And then I'm going to adhere that down to my pattern paper, and I'm going to leave a little bit more on the part with the scalloped edge on it, so it's going to be wider over there. And then I just had to trim a little bit of my pattern paper off the bottom. So now I can attach that to my white card base. It's just a regular A2 size card base, an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper cut in half the long way. And then I'm going to adhere that to the right side of my card. And then my last step is to apply some clear sequins. These are from Pretty Pink Posh. And I'm just going to scatter those all along my card and then adhere them into place with the Tombow Mono Multi Glue. You can also use the Ranger Multi Matte Medium. And that is my finished card for today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel for more videos. And I will see you back here on Monday with my Make It Monday video. Don't forget to check out these videos here that I have linked for you below. Bye!